Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to M4J Transport here on Cities in Motion 2. Before we get into the episode proper, because today's episode involves buses, and it also involves laying out some roads, I thought it would be fitting to readdress the situation that we had a little while ago that's kind of, I don't want to say resurfaced, because that doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. It's a topic that's come back up again, and it's to do with how I've laid out some of my bus lines. The original complaint was the way that I'd laid out my bus line. Look how big this city is, by the way. It's absolutely massive. Very much covered with buses. The way I laid out my bus lines was to literally randomly place some stops and then randomly link them up. And the complaint that I got was, in the US they have grid structures for their roads, which is what this city has, therefore I should do my bus lines like they do in the US. And yes and no was my original response to that. Basically, I've never been to the US. Personal preference, I don't like the way the US lay out their transport networks because they're so inefficient. You look at some of the biggest cities in the US and immediately you think, where's the rail infrastructure? New York has its subway. I know Boston has some light rail services. Washington, I think, now has a subway or light rail of some kind. And then you go down to LA and San Francisco. San Francisco have the streetcars and the trams, and their own subway. But then you look at, Los Angeles doesn't have that much of a rail infrastructure. And then you actually look at how those cities are connected. You can get a train from East Coast to West Coast, but it's not exactly the most efficient way of getting across the country. Most people in the US either drive or fly, which is fair enough. Personal preference and all that, but for someone to comment on my video and tell me that I need to do things like the Americans do, whereas I'm sitting in real life thinking the Americans need to do things the way the Europeans do, it's not going to work. Essentially, there's going to be a problem. So my personal opinion, and you either agree with this or disagree with this, it's absolutely fine. My personal opinion is that I do things the way the Europeans do, and I don't like the way the Americans lay out their transport infrastructure. So if you do live in America and you're watching this, or even Canada as a stretch, North America essentially is my bugbear, and you're watching this, I'm not having a direct attack at you. I don't think what you're doing is wrong, but it's not the way I would do it. So therefore, please don't comment on my videos telling me that I'm not doing things the way you would do it, because there's a reason for that. And hopefully that's cleared it up a little bit better now. Going back to today, the reason this is surfaced again is because of a rather long comment, which I don't have a problem with, by the way. Long comments just means I have a little bit more to read, but that's absolutely fine. Marco W has only recently found the series, by the way, so huge welcome to you watching these videos. But he came up with a case study for how I've set out some of my bus lines. So I'm trying to remember whereabouts in the city. I think it's this line. It might be Route 114. Whoops, I didn't mean to stop it. I meant to do this. Yeah, you can see here the way some of these lines are set out. So in order for the bus to go to this stop, it comes from the west, loops up to the north, and then down and round to the south. And same with this one here. Now I could fix this quite easily by moving this stop down onto this road and then having the bus go through. And do you know what? I'm very tempted to do that off camera between episodes, because I imagine it's not going to be as simple as just moving the stop. Same with this one. I'm tempted to move the stop to maybe onto this road instead of up here. The reason I put it here is because it's direct connection with the tram, but I think here is good enough as well. People can walk around that corner, no problem. And again, Marco wasn't criticizing it. He was sort of asking why I did it that way. And the answer is, as I've already said, it's purely random. My laptop's making noises in the background, apologies for that. It's purely random how I set out these stops. And in the past, I wouldn't have done things as randomly as this. I would have structured it a bit more. But at the beginning of the series, I just wanted to get the first bit out of the way, because I've already done a series on Cities in Motion 2. You can go back and watch it. And in that series, I spend about 5 episodes just building the first hub, making sure that works properly and connecting things up to it. And I figured people didn't want to watch that again, so I did it randomly. But actually, if you go to London, London is a very good example for this. I think most cities in Europe, actually, because Marco was talking about Germany and Poland, and how they work similarly to the UK. There is a plan. There is someone in an office that sits down with a map and a schedule and actually works it all out. But when you're riding on the bus, you don't see all that. You just see where the bus goes, and it is random. If you're not knowing where the bus is going to go next, it is random. You think, well, why has it gone down this street when we're going that way? And you know, there are roads in London where certain vehicles aren't allowed, and there's not necessarily signs that people on the bus can see. The driver will know, obviously, and there'll be signs for the driver. But you know, I've been on a tour bus in London before, and the routes that they take you on just to cross over Tower Bridge, it's so out of the way almost, because a lot of the tour buses in London, they go to places like Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square, Leicester Square, Westminster Bridge, you know, London Eye, places like that. And then suddenly they drive about 2-3 miles down the road and just to cross over Tower Bridge and have a stop at the Tower of London. And if you look at that from above on a map, it's like a really nice close-knit area, because you could pretty much throw a blanket over Trafalgar Square, Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus. They're all basically right next to each other. Covent Garden as well is very, very close to Leicester Square. And then suddenly there's this really long, elongated section where it goes out to Tower Bridge and then comes back again. And that is actually something that Marco pointed out. I won't read out the whole comment. I'll sort of paraphrase certain bits with it. So he mentioned about the way I have some of my lines loop around blocks. Like I said, I'm looking to fix that. Some of it I might pass off as, oh, there's roadwork, so they directed the bus line a different way to a temporary stop. That doesn't work for the one that I showed you. Which one was it? Here. I think it was. Actually, no, it was... might have been this one. Because the bus actually goes along the road and then loops up and round to the stop and then loops up and down back onto the same road again. So you can't say it's roadworks if the bus goes past it twice. He did draw some diagrams as well, so if you go check out episode 8 of the series, you can go and have a look at his diagrams. They're quite sketchy. Not in a not sketchy bad way. Sketchy is in hand sketched. God, my words. I'm trying to find my words. But yeah, they actually tell the story quite well. You can see the 4 different variations for how I've built bus stops looping around blocks. And it kind of opened my eyes a little bit up to, wow, people actually do watch my videos and they do pay attention to what I'm saying. So it's good, actually. I like that someone has done that. And the other thing that Marco pointed out, actually, which is something else I want to say for North Americans, is not all of our cities were laid out in grids. Bearing in mind that the United States, in particular, is not very old. I think it's in its 3rd century now. Whereas over 1,000 years ago, the UK was a thing. Great Britain was a thing. Actually, Great Britain wasn't a thing. England was a thing. And a lot of our cities, London especially, has been around since before that, even. You know, London, Colchester, Coventry, St Albans, they were all Roman settlements that have grown into these big, well, I say big, London's big, the other 3 aren't, but they're cities now. They're big modern day cities. The US didn't have that. You didn't have a Roman invasion. You didn't have a Saxon invasion. You didn't have a Celtic invasion. What you had was us coming over in the 1700s and going, oh, we like this place, we'll make it ours. And it wasn't just the UK that did that. It was France, Spain, the Netherlands, so many different countries going over there. But because they had this big sprawling area to build in, they actually built their cities in grid patterns. You know, New York is a very good example of that. I think New York was originally called New Amsterdam, founded by the Dutch, and then over time many other nationalities have gone over there. But because it was such a big area that it was built in, Manhattan might seem small now, but at the time it was massive. So they built a big grid structure and they numbered their streets, and you know, to an extent, it's kind of made things easier. Although I think numbering your streets is a little bit short-sighted when you consider how many streets there are in New York now. You don't necessarily know where they all are, because they're not all in number order, which is weird, let's say. I still think it would have been better if they had north to south running streets numbered, and then east to west running streets lettered. So you could say, I'm on E74, You know, I'm on the corner of E and 74, and you know straight away where that is. Whereas, I think it's 5th Avenue is the main north to south road in the middle of Manhattan. And then I don't think the ones either side of it are 4th and 6th. They might be. I'm not 100% sure. Someone will always tell me in the comments. But yeah, we don't have grids. London actually had the perfect opportunity in 1666 when the Great Fire of London happened. We had the opportunity to rebuild our city to a grid pattern and make it a little bit easier to navigate. And at the last minute, they'd thought actually it's probably easier if we just rebuild what we already had. So London has some very weird streets. It has streets that go to nowhere. It's got streets that go to everywhere. It's got streets that just do crescent moon shapes for whatever reason. And you know, apart from streets like the Mall, which I mean, everyone knows the Mall. It's a big, wide open space with trees either side of it. That's probably one of the widest streets in London. You've also got the Strand, which is also quite wide, but I think they knocked down buildings to make that happen. And then you have got roads like Euston Road and Pancras Road. Actually, Pancras Road isn't so much, but Euston Road, Portobello Road, they're quite wide, but they've been made wide. You know, buildings have been knocked down and you know, trees have been chopped down and all that kind of thing. So London is not a good example of how to do bus networks, but London is the only way I know of how to do bus networks. That's why I do it. If you live in America and you think I'm doing it wrong, make your own series. You know, make your own videos, do it your own way, and we'll agree to disagree. But anyway, today we're going to be working on the new hub. I've got to stop umming and ahhing as well. It's because I'm reading this comment still and thinking, have I got everything? Oh yeah, Marco also put some maps of the bus system in his city, as in his real life city, so you can go and actually see a real life example and how it works. I mean, this isn't the UK. We drive on the right hand side of the road on this map, so it's obviously in Europe. Plus, Colossal Order are based in Europe as well, so it's a European ideology essentially. It's fitting for America because they drive on the right as well, but I think in terms of the base structure of the game, it's designed for European style transport networks, if that makes sense. He also mentions about his university having a bus network. The university I went to, the University of Hertfordshire, they own the bus companies that run buses around Hertfordshire, which is quite a weird thing when you think about it. It makes sense because students getting to and from campus, but it's also quite weird. If anyone's seen the Uno buses, they're bright purple pink colour. They're owned by the University of Hertfordshire, and they're based in my hometown. But they run from pretty much Bedfordshire all the way down to central London. So it's quite amazing when you think about that. We're not even the only university in the area. The University of Bedfordshire isn't that far away. Plus there's the University of something or other as well that's quite well known. I can't remember the name of it now, which sort of shows that maybe it's not as well known as I thought. But yeah, university owning a bus company. I never thought I'd see that. I imagine it's actually quite common, but for me, it's a new phenomenon. Then he also said that the capacity of buses and trams in the game are quite unrealistic. That's why I did the rule set, which I still need to make available actually if I haven't done so already, so you guys can actually see it. Anyway, I have talked now for how long? Nearly 15 minutes. So I'm actually going to start building. This whole area here is about to get bulldozed, and it's actually starting to get quite high-rise buildings as well. So I do apologise for that, but we do need to build the new hub, which I think it's going to be this area here on top of the metro station. I tried to choose somewhere that's relatively flat. I think I did alright with that actually, to be fair. And we're going to build the new bus hub for City East, which does mean that this old bus hub over here is going to get demolished. There will be something, maybe just the trams, that will connect this up to the new hub, although I'm not 100% sure how the tram line will work in here, so don't quote me on that yet. I'm also not sure how the bus hub will work on this yet, because I kind of want to base it on not that one, sort of like this one, because this is the only bus hub I've really got that doesn't have traffic. No real traffic jams. The worst one, I mean, New Tram Square gets very busy, but I expect that because pretty much every mode of transport comes through here. The worst one for traffic, actually it's not that one anymore, it's this one. Because I have this one-way system. I've kind of fixed it, redirected the wires a little bit more. I also made it so that you can come in from both sides, particularly if you're going into the middle, like we have over at the Rat's house, which is also a good example, but it's not been stress tested yet, which is why I'm not basing anything on it. But yeah, this is a very bad example. Like, this center bit is okay, but this outside bit not so good. So I think I'm not going to do a one-way system. I'm just going to build I mean, let's always start with footpaths, because you get a better idea as to how the layout is going to be. So I think actually not there. Not there. I think if we split this into 3, kind of like this, and then these will connect up to that bit. Same on this side. Split it into 3. If I could come back just a tad. Like this. Except that one needs to be a little bit longer. Like that. Alright, now these can go across like that. And like that. And then here, get rid of that, get rid of that. You will be one-way roads. Like so. And then get rid of these 4. And replace them with one-way roads with parking. Now I think we might end up with cars coming down here actually, if I do it like this. But I think worse things could happen. And then these will join up like this. Something like that. And then we'll put some shelters down. Like that. And I think, because we had 4, yeah, 4 down here, and now we've got 4 up here. I think that's good. I think that'll work. We've got to wait for the metro stops to come back, obviously. And I think I might connect these corners up as well. That corner I can do. This one I think will be a little bit more difficult, as you can see. Unless I just draw it straight across like this, which I would do, except for the traffic lights would be a problem. And I think this one I can connect up like that. And this one I can connect up like that. Because there's traffic lights on these junctions anyway. And yeah, buildings should spring up in some of these gaps. Maybe not these little ones at the ends here, but that's okay. We've built the new hub directly on top of the metro hub. The shelters for the metro, I think that one will come up on this road, this one maybe here, this one maybe here, and that one probably directly above it. So the bus shelters shouldn't get in the way. Now we've just got to redo the bus lines. Before I do that though, I do just want to save the game real quick. Hopefully that it saves properly. That's one thing I wasn't worried about on my laptop actually when I was doing the time lapses. The saves just went through almost instantly. You can hear me clicking my fingers. And it worked. I was really happy with that. So hopefully I can get new RAM, because that's what this has told me, this whole experience, is I definitely need new RAM for my laptop. Hopefully I can get that, and then we won't have to worry about crashes. That's the word I was looking for. Right, this line looks pretty easy to do actually. think that was easy to do. Do you know what? I'm just going to redo them all from scratch. It should be easy to do because I just look for the stops that haven't got a line connected to them, and that will be where these go. So I think the first one is here. So it's that, and then I'm going to do this one, and then I think I'm going to go through. Ooh, let's have a look. Yeah, I think I'm going to go through here, and then up this way. Along the back end here. There, 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 and then down there, down this way, along there, up here, there, and then there. And then you go back to your depot, which is that one. Okay, so that's one done. So I'm going to do this one next. And again, I'll just try and add this in first and see if it works. So what stop are you? You're 697, which is there. So if I now do this, yeah, that actually works. Cool. And then I can come down to this one, which was 677. This is another good example, by the way, of the looping system. 677, remove. And there you go. We have a new little coastal thing, and that actually needs recalibrating as well. So where... So that's 700, and the next was 716. Where's 716? There. So actually 716 I'll remove as well, because you don't need to go through there. You actually use the freeway for that. Let me think. I don't want to put more stops around the hub, that's the thing. So I think that one there is fine. This one here I need to remove. I actually get rid of it. I think I could get away with putting a stop there maybe. Yeah, that works. And then you meander your way through to here, which I'm not a big fan of. I think what I'll do instead is put a stop here, and hopefully, damn, I might have to put another one up here. There. Alright, we'll take this one out. In that case, what stop number are you? 765, which is there. So if I take you out, will you work if I do this? You will. Good. So I can now get rid of that one and get rid of that one. And this line is actually done. You know, that works again. It's got lines going everywhere. Again, yeah, I suppose that actually works quite well. It doesn't do the loop round thing, that's just where it starts and ends. So it crosses over itself a couple of times, but it does go through the hub. It does do a little coastal run, which I could add another stop on this road here, thinking about it. Or this road here, maybe. I want it to have a reason to go along the coast, not just because it's... There. Okay, so I'll close this one now. And then the final one, by the looks of things, is this one here. Which, again, I'll just try and direct it through here first. And it looks like I can do that.
Whoops.
Pulled my headset off. Apologies for that. It does work. I could route it through there. So I'm going to do that now. And then I think what I'm going to do is put a new stop. I'm going to upgrade it. Put a new stop there. So your stop number 131. That's not right. You're the bus line 131, you donkey. 680. Uh, 680, there it is. And you are 765. There. Awesome. And then you're all linked up and working again. Good. So that's this all done. Now the last thing to do is to temporarily close both of these lines. Like that. And then demolish all this. And that. And then build a new water bus stop there. And how did I know I was going to put it right on top of the bus? Actually, it needs to be one of these anyway. There we go. Okay, so you're going to go there, like that. And then I'm going to grab... So you're stop 11. Do that. Do that. You can now reopen. You're still stop 11. So I can now do that. And replace you with... Actually, which line are you? Oh, you're that one. Okay. So this one's a little bit easier because I can just do that, that, that one. Which actually I think I could get away with doing that. And then you go there, 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 and there. Reopen you as well. And then the final thing is remove this and lay down some tracks. Good old tram tracks. Now somehow, from here, I need the tram to also go up to the hub. Considering the hub is there, could I get away with directing it up here? Or is that... I think that's too steep. So I'm going to have to come down to this one and then go up. Because then I could technically go straight through, apart from the fact these are one-way roads. Aha, unless... Let's do one of the messiest bits of track building. I could do this. And then from here... This is kind of a north to south running eastern tram line. So to get this running across like this, I think someone requested an elevated tramway. Maybe they didn't. But we can do it with this. Just a little bit. So here we can go back down to ground level. And then you would connect up like that. So I think I mentioned a few episodes ago, I don't know why I did that actually, because I need to build the avenue with a footpath. I think I mentioned a few episodes ago the idea of there only being a certain number of tram lines in this city, and that is still true, but I think I'm going to expand the number a little bit, because I think originally it was there's only going to be 8, was it? However many lines there are in New Tram Square, however many tram berths, that's how many lines there will be. But actually having a north to south running western line and a north to south running eastern line, plus one running east to west on the south, and maybe even one running across the north, and I've also got one that runs across this island as well. So there's quite a few that we could still have. So it's not over yet. That's what I'm saying. It's not over yet. There's going to be more. I need to put a tram stop. I like the idea of there being one here, because we don't even have a bus stop or anything near there. So I'm going to build. We'll use shelters because it's off the ground. Actually, let's connect it up first. That sounds smart. Except I'm trying to think where to connect it. I think we'll have one over here as well, near this bus stop. So I reckon if I can split this... That was the other thing that I was going to mention. I think it was Young Wee commented on a video a little while ago saying about tram vehicles. Should they stop before or after traffic lights? And that's a very... Whoops. Did I just delete something I shouldn't have deleted? I think I deleted a trolley wire. Damn it. Yeah, that's a difficult subject, actually, because I think... Because I think what I think is not what the majority think. And I also don't think what I think is the actual solution that's used in real life. I think tram stops should be before traffic lights, for the very simple reason of, if a vehicle stops, say there's two vehicles bunched together. When I went to Amsterdam, that actually happened quite a lot, particularly running out of Centraal Station, because there are I think there's 5 lines maximum that use the same pair of tracks for the first bit of their journey. Now imagine, I know they're timetabled to not do this, but imagine for a second that it ends up being that 3 vehicles are following right behind one another, which isn't that unfeasible when you think about it, but I mean it's not the most common of occurrences. But imagine that's happening, and then there's a stop right after a traffic light. You'll end up with 2 vehicles bunched up behind the lights still, and one vehicle the other side of the lights. Now what if, for example, 2 trams ended up bunched right up? So let me find an example. Here. Actually, this is a bad example because it's both before and after. Again, it's both before and after. That's the problem with the grid pan. There's also lots of people there. Building that new metro hub underneath has not necessarily solved the problem. It's actually really difficult to find an example. Let's just use this one for whatever. Let's imagine that this junction doesn't exist, and we'll focus solely on here. So imagine, if you will, that a tram is coming from north to south, and there are 2 other trams on 2 other lines that happen to use the same pair of tracks directly behind the first tram. So the first tram that stops here right after the junction. So the tram will come across the junction and it will stop. Now what happens if the tram right behind it tries to go through the junction as well? It can't leave the junction because the first tram is already here blocking it, and it also can't reverse because the tram behind it is blocking it. So it ends up just blocking the junction. And that's why I always put my stops before the junction, because then it's you need a double positive before you can leave. So the tram stops, doors open, people get on, doors close. Now the driver's got to check 2 things before he can leave. A, are the doors shut and is everybody on board safely? And then B, is the junction clear for departure? If not, then the tram can sit here for a little bit longer with the doors open. More people can get on board. I mean, that's Exhibit A. Exhibit B is also, it doesn't block this junction. So other vehicles can come across, other trams can come this way. There might still be 2 vehicles stuck behind it, but if say this junction doesn't exist either, those 3 trams can easily fit on this stretch of road. It's better than, for me at least, it's better than blocking a junction, because that is what was happening over here at New Tram Square. Trams were blocking these junctions because they were waiting to turn in. Now imagine if in fact this is a good example, stop is directly after the junction, so there's 2 trams here, both trying to get in here. It's blocking the road, it's blocking other vehicles from getting through, and every now and then I had to reset New Tram Square because of that. However, since I've rebuilt it, that problem doesn't occur as often. It normally ends up being that a vehicle down here stops, all the other vehicles bunch up around it until vehicles here also stop, and then it turns into gridlock. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer myself. My own logic and my own answer doesn't necessarily mean that that's right and everyone else is wrong. I would never say that. I don't really think that either, to be perfectly honest. But I do think sometimes the logic outweighs the reason. So for me, the logic for that is to put it before the junction, whereas some people say that, you know, in real life it goes after the junction. Both are right, both are wrong, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, hopefully I answered your question. I mean, Marco, you're worried about putting a long comment on the video. I've just talked for 20 minutes about something that could have been done in about 5. So I have no problem with long comments. I like reading, so it's all good. Alright, I'm just trying to connect this up as well. Because although I don't think this can connect to the tram where I've put the stop, I do think it can connect to this other bus. I'm quite happy with putting the tram stop over here to connect with this bus, and then this bus will also connect with that bus. Plus I do kind of like the idea of splitting these. Yes, this is just after the junction, so I'm kind of contradicting myself, but it's better than nothing. Alright, now I need to connect this up. I'm thinking of doing something like this. And then from here down to ground, and then from there across like that. Now hopefully these houses can grow again. Probably be smarter if I did that. Would also be smarter if I did this. Like that, and then on this side, like that. So they have to walk a fair ways to get down, but hopefully that's a good connection. And then we can put 2 stops there and there before the junction, always before the junction. And then the next couple of stops, I guess, will be here and here because it's longer. So hopefully vehicles won't queue up here. They might queue up here, but I won't put stops there because I said I never put stops on huge gradients, and that is a huge gradient. So now we've got quite a good connection going on here, and then the next tram stop will be down here at the water bus. After that, I think we'll go up for just a terminus here, because this is the north to south line. I think I'll have an east to west line that also goes through this hub, but then maybe we'll cross this bridge. I think I'd already planned for that actually, because then it joins up with this line here. That works quite well. So here, it'll go straight across this bridge. In fact, I'll connect it up now. Might as well. So you go straight across like this, and then there, and then there, like that. There isn't a stop here, so I'm going to put couple of stops, one there, one there. Because then this connects up with this. Originally I had another east to west line that started at this depot here, I think it was. How did I have it go? Does it loop around like that? I think it might have been. I'm not 100% sure. But this works, to have it connect up like that instead. Quite happy with that. But yeah, this episode is quite long now, so I'm going to start wrapping things up. I'm going to run this all off camera to make sure that it works. I'm also going to do a very quick save. Come on, game, don't let me down. I'm also going to mark off on the episode plan that I have built the new central hub in City East, and I have rerouted the buses. The game has saved, fantastic, and now I can start wrapping up the episode. So do leave comments down below. I like the fact people are bringing up subjects like where trams stop, also whether the bus lines should be random or not. I mean, they're technically not random. They are planned, but they're planned a little more sporadically than perhaps I'm used to doing. So I mean, they're random and they're not. Let's put it that way. They're random and they're not. But do keep those comments coming. It's very much appreciated. And also a massive thank you to everyone that's been supporting the channel the last couple of weeks. We are so nearly at 900 subscribers. We are 3 off at the time of recording this. And the view count is really, really good. The like count is also very, very encouraging. So please, please, please keep it going. Don't let it stop. I keep saying it needs to grow exponentially, and I stand by that. So keep the likes coming in, keep the subscribers coming in. If you know anyone that is interested in games like this, tell them about the channel. Tell your friends is the line that I'm hearing a lot at the moment. So please, please, please do that. And thank you very much. Also, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series. Drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes, and be sure to check out the name suggestions list at m4jmedia.com. Leave your suggestions there, or just have a look at the ones that are already there. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support, and until next time, I will see you soon.